Alright everybody, welcome back. So many of y'all have probably never seen this plane before, the La-174, but you have seen the La-15, and to be honest with you, they are incredibly similar. If you fought one, you basically fought the other. The only difference is 119 kilograms of weight. A little bit over 4%. And so anything I say in this video will also apply to the La-15. Just keep that in mind. If you're willing to spend $85 for less than 5% difference, then by all means go ahead. I would highly recommend this aircraft, but just keep in mind you can always just play the La-15 in the tech tree and get pretty much exactly the same performance. In any case, what is the La-174? Well, it was a prototype La-15, and in game, it's been in here for ages. It was introduced back in update 1.39. That was back in 2014 for Lavochkin's 114th birthday. It also came back for the 117th birthday in 2017 as well. It hasn't returned for any event since then, but instead, Gaijin went ahead and added it to the marketplace, so you can buy a coupon for this thing for $85. One interesting thing about this plane back in the day was that you actually had to fully research and buy it. It wasn't like the mouse, for example, where you could put 1 RP into it during the event and then go on and finish it later. No, if you didn't finish it, that was it. So anyone that got it back then researched the entire thing during the 3 or 4 days or however long it was for the event. So now I was not able to get it back then. I wasn't playing in 2014, and in 2017 I wasn't allowed to play enough to finish it. So I had to go ahead and request it from Gaijin instead. But I would highly recommend this aircraft, both this and the La-15. They are incredibly enjoyable planes to fly. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But one of the big things is the Matchmaker. So 8.0 just has an excellent Matchmaker. One of the big things for me is its diversity. You're going to see a ton of different types of aircraft. You're going to see meteors, you're going to see vampires, you're going to see sabers, everything in between. And it also doesn't have constant up tiers like a lot of other BRs. When I'm playing 8.0, I do actually see a lot of 7.3, 8.3, 7.7, 8.7. I do get some 9.0 games, but I'm also actually able to get down tiers to 7.0. That's one of the biggest things for me right now when it comes to being able to enjoy a battle rating, is being able to get down tiers. And the La-174 and the La-15 by extension thrive in these down tiers. Whenever you get a 7.3 or a 7.0 game, you have just better flight performance than pretty much everything else. You outspeed them, you have excellent energy retention, and you're just able to pretty much dunk on them in a dogfight. Now, I did consult the leading expert in La-15 and La-174. You may know him, his name is Frozy. And one of the things he said is that you do got to keep in mind that you want to keep your fuel low. You can see I'm typically running low on gas in all these clips, and that's because I'm running minimum fuel, which is 12 minutes, and that is more than enough. You don't really have to worry about going longer than that in pretty much any game, and even by then you're probably out of ammo. But just keep that in mind. That flight performance I mentioned degrades significantly if you bring more fuel. For example, on low fuel, 12 minutes or less, you're able to turn inside sabers, but if you go above 20, then you lose that ability. So you just definitely want to keep that in mind. Be very cautious when it comes to bringing extra fuel. And to be honest, most of the maps are small enough at this BR, because they finally got rid of EC maps down here, that you're able to run 20 minutes with no problems whatsoever. Ellen ran out like 2 or 3 times, and it was typically when there was like 1 or 2 guys left. I totally could have gone back to base. So now, the next thing is Real Shatter really helped this aircraft. It has 323 mils, and as you can see, nowadays, if they connect, they usually kill. You don't have to worry nearly as much about getting a ton of hits and crits. And even if you do get crits, that does very severe damage, just like you saw right there. That F-84G lost his wingtip. 3 of these guns are more than enough firepower for pretty much anything, and you get plenty of ammo as well. So don't spray necessarily, but you don't really have to worry about running out of ammo nearly as much. One thing I will mention, y'all heard me say that the top speed was pretty good. It does like to rip in a straight line. It has too much thrust for its own good, and the wings aren't swept enough to allow it to go incredibly fast, so you are going to be redlining quite often. And you do have to keep in mind that although this thing does have air brakes, they're not the most effective. So you're also going to want to make sure you throttle down while you air brake, and you also need to be very conscientious of your speed, because you will rip. You start redlining a bit above 900, and I believe the wings rip at 945 as long as the wiki is accurate, which we all know it's not always the most accurate, but just keep that in mind. You definitely want to be conscious of it. Now, this aircraft isn't as stellar in an up tier. It's definitely one of the more capable aircraft, I would say, in an up tier compared to a lot of other ones, but you do kind of get hard countered once you get into these up-tier matches. When it comes to A4s and stuff like that, you're not really going to have any issues. The A4 just bleeds way too much speed because of this delta wing design, but when you're fighting Sabres or MiG-15s, the other 8.7s, it does have a bit of a difficult time. It's not one of those aircraft like the Su-11, for example, where you still easily outperform the majority of enemies that you're fighting. The F-Sabres, for example, will all easily outrun you, and the A-Sabre and the F-40 Sabre, with their wing slats, are able to just point their nose wherever you want. They're going to out-AOA you, and depending on the speed, they can also outturn you. Now, of course, you are still very much able to compete. Just expect to have a lot of people that will just run away from you, and there's nothing you can really do. And also try and avoid winding up with one of them on your 6. They're just going to be able to sit there, and there's really not much you can do when you have a MiG-15 or a Sabre stuck on your butt. It's not like at the lower BRs where you can just take them into a vertical spiral, because they do actually have the power to keep up with you there. G91s are kind of the exception to this. Just like the A4, they bleed a ton of speed, so you can see if I had wanted to, I could have kept just turning with him, but I decided to go ahead and go out of it. And I actually managed to get this really nice shot off. Like, I just love stuff like that. When it connects, it just feels so good inside. I do want you to look behind me, though. You're about to see in a second that Cougar right there. Yeah, he's going to turn and missile me here in a second. This is one thing that I am personally pretty bad about, is I expect people to not turn in 180 and focus me. I should have been looking, and you can actually hear the missile right before it hits me here. Yeah, he decided to go for me instead of the F-40 Sabre that was near him. I was not expecting that. I should have kept an eye on him. That was my fault. Don't do that. Players in this game are not always the most predictable or consistent, and that is my biggest advice to all of y'all, is to keep that in mind and to be very careful when it comes to fighting people, because people won't always do the most logical or the most smart move. You've probably seen that yourself when you have someone pull a complete 180, kill you, and then die. The majority of your games, though, are going to be in this, 7.3-ish to 8.7-ish matchmaker. And in this, you're going to have a lot of planes that you are going to just completely outcompete, and many others which you are still incredibly capable of dealing with. And a lot of these players aren't exactly the best. There's a ton of premiums with this VR. You got all the Squadron A4s, for example, and to be honest with you, this is going to let you rack up a lot of kills very, very easily, and you're going to enjoy yourself while you're doing it as well. So I would highly recommend at least giving the LA-15 a try, and if, for example, you have those coupons sitting around, or you haven't actually played this thing and you unlocked it back in the day, go ahead, give it a shot. I mean, it's just a better LA-15 at the same VR, and there's nothing wrong with that. In any case, though, I do hope y'all enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I did actually reach 9,000 subscribers recently, so I wanted to thank y'all for it, and we're going to shoot for 10K soon. So if you would like to, feel free to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And in any case, I'll catch y'all next time. So, peace, y'all.